Welcome back. Hopefully you've watched the intro video for this new series and have a general understanding of the 10 topics we're now starting to work through. The overall program is called Constant Change Requires Leaders to Excel in the Basics, whilst this video covers the first basic, understanding your place in the team. As with all our modules, you'll find additional comments, materials and links in the show notes below and at our website, amentorscouch.com. These offer you the opportunity to go deeper into the topic than we're able to do in the videos. Additionally, we hope that the screen graphics are helpful in helping you make the connection to numerous items we cover. So let's get started with topic 1. As illustrated here in the graphic, in our role as a leader, we're surrounded by key stakeholder groups. At home with family members and the broader community or social networks, i.e. friends, church, clubs, etc., as well as with our working environment, be it from our team or peers, our customers, our boss, or even more senior management, the company itself, and even our suppliers. People or organisations that each have varying expectations and needs from us and our limited capacity, limited by time, resources, competence, and so on. Perhaps these limitations are known by some of the stakeholders, but this typically only serves to heighten their concerns about our ability or willingness to satisfy those expectations. It helps, therefore, that you as a leader are able to realise those shortcomings in order to communicate with and manage these stakeholders successfully. A useful point in managing stakeholders is to incorporate a method referred to as the circle of influence. This tool enables us to sort and cluster our stakeholders, thereby making sense of the chaos. And from here we can develop strategies and actions where necessary to manage or support these groups or individuals. It's a particularly useful approach for less experienced leaders that are feeling overwhelmed by the events and the volume of demand. Once clustered, we review each group to determine if they're a supporter or perhaps a detractor. This is powerful knowledge which we can utilize to determine the best strategy for working together successfully going forward. Our aim should be to expand the circle of influence and encompass as many of those in the circle of concern as possible, particularly those that are critical of us. We'll include several links in the show notes for people interested in doing further research on this stakeholder concept and tools. Let's now look closer at each of the stakeholder groups and touch on those important considerations. There's no right or wrong order here, and it's definitely not my purpose to trigger a heated debate about which of the stakeholder groups or individuals are the most important. Family versus work, customer versus team, management versus suppliers, and so forth. Hopefully, if you've performed the circle of influence exercise, you'll have assessed how this works for you. And without wanting to alienate anyone, I'm starting with two of my key groups, teams and customers, as they impact all leaders and mostly from within our inner circle. Plus, they generally have real needs and immediate expectations. Each group can be treated as equal in this regard to avoid the chicken and egg question. There's currently sufficient social media discussion fueling this debate without my added involvement. The team is critical in that collectively they determine the success of you and your business. Therefore, they need your full commitment by supporting, encouraging, coaching and developing them. The 1 + 1 = more than 2 principle definitely applies here. Create the right environment and enable each member of your team to perform consistently at their peak, and the business becomes unstoppable. No real surprise, therefore, that in the following videos in this series, we place heavy emphasis on specifics for developing these key stakeholder groups. Similarly, understand your customers' needs and drive your business processes, systems, and teams towards true focused customer centricity, and success becomes sustainable and profitable. There's a wealth of evidence from successful companies to reinforce this message, and any number of ways to move in this direction, but it starts from within and the commitment to realize it. Check out the links in our show notes to the Net Promoter Score video series, a very in-depth analysis on how you and your business can determine if your customer are promoters or detractors. Moving now to the topic of work-life balance, or perhaps more specifically, work-family balance. Most leaders today understand this concept and requirement, but we're not always so good at implementing it. We know it's critical to ensure that our family needs are addressed, because of all the stakeholder groups, this one sticks with us through the toughest of times, encouraging, supporting, and keeping the home front together whilst we're often away travelling, entertaining, or working long hours. Some cultures and countries, even companies, seem to have found the right mix, whilst many others are yet to. At the end of the day, you need to determine what's the right balance. And this is not only applying for you, but should also be applicable for your team. Please give your team members equal opportunity to strike this harmony. Check out the Jeff Bezos interview speaking about work-life harmony. On the other side of the spectrum perhaps, depending on their philosophy, is the immediate boss. As one of the key stakeholders for you and your team, this person, or persons as is the case in many matrix organisations today, plays a major part in the success of your career through their support, coaching and guidance. Most likely they were influential in you being in the role you're in today, so it makes a lot of sense that you establish the ground rules early with this stakeholder. What are they expecting? How would they prefer their communication and at what frequency? Are there any do's and don'ts? One of the worst outcomes we see is from leaders that choose to ignore this step. They believe that their boss will see their level of commitment, effort and determination through their actions, which may be true, but in the end they fail because they didn't establish that clarity, connection and trust through rigorous dialogue first. So the opportunity for you now is to go knock on your boss's door and set up a one-on-one chat. It's never too late. On to another two stakeholder groups, peers and suppliers, an interesting duo. We've clustered them on the same portion of this video intentionally because there's many common dynamics which play out here through you as the leader and your interaction with them. And we want you to do a little experiment. For this experiment, we could just as easily have chosen the final two stakeholders of company and social networks, given that your interaction frequency is normally not as regular as the previous four stakeholders already covered. Less familiarity means the results will be easier for us to determine. There's a number of studies conducted which maintain that verbal, non-verbal and emotional actions become contagious. We're attaching a link to a very interesting video on this subject, so take the time to watch it. In short, the studies suggest that your body language and the questions you ask, plus the emotions you express during the communication, have a tremendous impact on how others react and interact. Which tends to make sense, react to someone based on how we perceive them. Therefore, we'd like you to try the following yourself and monitor your peers' and suppliers' reaction. The first test is through body language, using your hands and face to support your expression. When greeting someone, ensure that your hands are open and visible at all times, and use hand gestures while speaking. And make sure you're smiling authentically. Now try the reverse with a different colleague. Hide your hands and don't smile. Which of the two methods created the warmest and most endearing atmosphere? For the second experiment, Repeat the non-verbal gestures, but this time choose your questions very carefully and do it twice. The first time using topics related to enjoyable events or situations. For instance, have you planned any vacations? The second time, use mundane types of questions related to work, such as, have you been busy lately? Gauge the difference in the response. We're pretty sure the results will be quite clear. As a leader, it's so important that you understand the impact based around the way you communicate, verbally, non-verbally, and emotionally. In this instance, through these effective communication techniques, when engaging with your peers and supplier networks, you're setting yourself up to win long-term and throughout your career. And to our two final stakeholder groups, those that are not directly related to me as a leader, but often have an impact, and sometimes when we least expect it. They typically sit across our circles of influence and concern. Let's start with the company. This relates to people. Perhaps they're in the region or the headquarters. Most often they're located in a different city or perhaps even a country. Identifying and understanding how and why your role may impact them or appears on their radar enables you to maintain an awareness and be conscious of any issues which might trigger a reaction. It's also great in helping you identify how you can contribute to their success and to the success of the company by being able to see the bigger and broader picture. If you struggle to identify those people and you can't determine what actions might be appropriate, seek guidance from your immediate boss. Most likely they'll be happy to help you work through this. As stated, we didn't group the stakeholders in any order or priority. Therefore, this final group, our social network, should be seen as no less important than any of the others. In fact, many times in my career, the greater, broader community has had tremendous influence on my career. Have you ever heard of the 6 degrees of separation? It's had numerous tests to prove its viability, however, never really been proven emphatically. More recently, however, through the explosion of online social media, a new dynamic's evolved. This illustrates that the size of your network is greatly enhanced by the inclusion of a few random acquaintances, and that their impact for you is often much higher than the impact through your friends. Makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Should I have accepted that last social media friend request from that stranger the other day? What opportunity did I just miss out on as a result? Let's take one last closer look at the diagram. Can you see the one stakeholder which we haven't covered thus far? Yes, our future robotic partners. It's a reality that in the very near future we'll have to work more closely with robotics that are utilising the latest in AI development and driving our Internet of Things world. How and what exactly is still not clear, but what is certain is that this is something for our lifetimes and perhaps even in the very near future years. Taking time to think through the connections we're making today with machines such as Siri, Alexa, household appliances and security systems, autonomous cars, and any multitude of the technologies in the near future, and you should start to see the point I'm making. We're in our infancy in this field, but the coming explosion of interconnectedness through Internet of Things and convergence of all technologies means our reliance on robots is almost guaranteed. Best to have them on the radar, don't you think? So this provides a very brief insight to our 9 stakeholder groups. Each group is individually important and collectively they're crucial to your performance and career progression. You're encouraged now, before moving into the next video, to review the show notes below, which provide additional collection of links, and information on various items related to the stakeholder groups. As we progress into the next 5 to 6 videos, we turn most of our attention towards the team stakeholder. The reason why is simple. If you can lock in these core learnings on the basic skills with your team and empower them by applying the topics and the methods we cover, then the foundation to success is laid and solid. So, that concludes the first video called Understanding Your Place in the Team. In this series, Constant Change Requires Leaders to Excel in the Basics, we'll present 10 topics. The next video covers the topic of motivating your future team. We look forward to having you join us again. Remember to press the like button if you enjoyed, and even better, if you wish to subscribe to our channel, Mentors Rant. Looking forward to catching you again shortly.